Internet, and welcome to 2017. This is my first video of the new year, and today I'm going to be doing my December 2016 wrap-up and my January 2017 TBR. So I did not read as much in December as I wanted to, but I did read a lot more than I did in November, considering I only read one book in November. I read 3 books in December. All 3 of them were pretty good, and considering everything that I had to do in December, I'm pretty proud of myself for finishing 3 books. So I'm just going to jump into those 3 books right now. The first book that I read in December was What Light by J. Asher. J. Asher is the author of one of my favorite books, which is 13 Reasons Why. So I was really excited to read this new book by him, and it was pretty good. I overall really enjoyed it. What Light is about a girl named Sierra whose family owns a Christmas tree farm, and during the kind of time period starting with Thanksgiving up through right after Christmas, her family travels from Oregon to California to sell Christmas trees. And it's kind of a contemporary holiday little romance. It was one that I really didn't find all that cheesy, because sometimes, let's be honest, contemporary romance stories can be a bit cheesy, but I really liked this one, and it was exactly what I was in the mood for this month. I really needed to take a break from fantasy and just read something light and easy and fun and Christmassy, and that's exactly what this was. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and if YA contemporary is a genre that you enjoy, I highly recommend giving this book a go. The next book I read kind of goes along the same lines in terms of contemporary romance stories and Christmassy vibes, and that book is My True Love Gave to Me, which is an anthology edited by Stephanie Perkins. This book has 12 different short stories in it. All of them are holiday-ish, not necessarily Christmassy, but holiday-ish, and they all are kind of romantic, some more than others. There were a few stories in here that I thought were really weird and I didn't particularly enjoy that much, but for the most part I enjoyed the stories in here. There are several of them that I definitely would like to reread around Christmas time this next year. And one thing I really loved about this book was that it was very diverse, both in terms of sexuality, race. There were all kinds of different holidays mentioned, so that way there was more representation in this book, and I just really appreciated that about this book. Again, I highly recommend this book if you're looking for a new diverse book to read, or just something that's kind of wintry. I feel like even though it's January, this would still be a completely appropriate book to read, because like I said, not all of these stories are necessarily Christmassy or whatever. It is just a good winter book to read, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And then it was Holiday Booktube-a-thon. I worked a lot the days of the Holiday Booktube-a-thon, so I was only able to get 1 book read out of the 3 I'd planned, but that's okay because I really liked the book that I read. And that book was Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick. And this book actually helped me complete 2 of the challenges for Holiday Booktube-a-thon, even though I only read 1 book. It helped me complete the challenge to read a book from a genre you discovered this year, which was memoirs, and to read a gifted book because a friend of mine gave me this as an early Christmas gift. Anna Kendrick is somebody that I think is really funny, and I really feel like her humor came through so well in this book. I just completely devoured this book. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious and just really relatable in a lot of ways, even though me and her don't exactly have the same kind of life going on. A lot of the things she said in terms of kind of how she thinks about certain aspects of life, I just totally agreed with. It's a short book, it's less than 300 pages, and it's just funny, and if you like reading celebrity memoirs or you are a fan of her in some kind of sense, I highly recommend this book. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. And those are the 3 books that I read in December. I ended up finishing my year off with reading 55 books for 2016. And if you watched my 2017 resolutions video, you know that I had originally set out to read 30 books in 2016, and then I eventually raised it to 40 and then 50 and stopped there, so I did really well, I think. As far as going into January goes, I don't have a whole lot planned for my overall January TBR because I'm doing 2 different readathons. I'm doing both the biannual Bibliothon and Diversathon at the end of the month, and so I'm going to be making separate TBRs for both of those. So for the rest of the month of January, I just have a few books that I want to read at some point that I'm going to talk about at this point in the video. I am currently reading 2 books. I am of course still reading Little Women by Louise May Alcott, and so at some point I would like to read a little bit more of this one since I'm just kind of taking this one a little bit at a time. I am also currently reading Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and this is a book that I started last month, but it's just taking me a while to really get into it. I think part of that is because I really needed to take a break from fantasy and read those contemporaries, and so I am enjoying this book so far. I think that her writing style works well for the type of story this is. I'm just having a hard time getting into it. And I have heard some people say that they had a hard time getting into this one as well, so I think that's normal. But it's not that I'm not enjoying it, because I am. I'm just not wanting to sit down and binge read it yet. I'm not quite to that point yet. I am almost at the halfway point. I want to try to finish this book before the biannual Bibliothon starts on, I believe, the 8th. So we'll see if that happens. And then at some point this month, I would really love to read Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And I want to read this book because A, I've heard really good things about it, and B, the third book comes out in February and Victoria Aveyard is making a Nashville stop, and I would at least like to have read the first book in the series before she gets here, if not both the first and second, but I don't own the second one yet. I've heard really good things about this series, and I've heard that these books are also very fast reads, so at some point in the month of January, whether it be sometime this first week or in between readathons or the very end of the month, or at some point I want to pick this book up this month. Other than that, my reading month for January is pretty much going to revolve around those two readathons, so I'm going to be making separate TBR videos for both of those. So if you want to know what books I'm planning on reading for the biannual Bibliothon and Diversathon, be on the lookout for those. Also be on the lookout for my favorite books of 2016 video. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with that video and what books I want to put on it, because I read a lot of good books this year, and so I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out how to compile that list. But I didn't want to make it before 2016 was over. So, and I'm glad, because I feel like Scrappy Little Nobody might make that list. I really enjoyed that book, so I'm glad that I made that call. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them, keeping those thoughts spoiler-free, of course. And also let me know down in the comments if you're going to do Diversathon or the biannual Bibliothon. That will be it for this video, and I will see you guys next time with another video.